I want to ask you something real. Do you ever feel like this world just isn't meant for you? Like no matter what you do, how much you try, succeed, or smile for the crowd, deep down something still feels off, out of place, like your soul is quietly aching for something you can't name. You're not broken. You're not weak. That feeling, the tiredness in your bones, the fog in your mind, the ache in your chest, is not a flaw. It's a message, a whisper from the part of you that still remembers who you truly are. If you feel lost, empty, or burnt out, it's okay. It's not your fault. You're not failing at life. You're just being asked to pause, to listen, to soften your grip on a world that told you to constantly chase, perform, and pretend. This modern world demands a lot. Tells us who to be, how to act, what to achieve. And in trying to fit in, we wear masks. We smile when we're crumbling. We perform when we just want to rest. Carl Jung said that when we live out of alignment with our true self, the unconscious begins to speak. Not with words, but with symptoms. Anxiety, fatigue, disconnection. The psyche doesn't punish. It protests. Gently, persistently. Burnout isn't laziness. It's the soul's quiet rebellion. A sacred pause. A call to return home. Not to a place, but to yourself. In this video, we'll walk together. I'll share with you why these feelings arise, what they mean, and how we can begin, gently, tenderly, to find our way back to ourselves. Storytelling segment. The burnout that opened a door. There was once a young man, just like many others, who did everything right. He graduated with honors, landed a stable job, wore nice clothes, smiled in meetings, and answered every email on time. From the outside, he looked like he was winning, but on the inside, he was quietly falling apart. Each morning, he woke up with the same routine. Reach for the phone, scroll through perfect lives, filtered faces, beach vacations, success stories. And with every image he saw, something inside him dimmed a little more. He had followers, promotions, and a paycheck, but he had lost something far more precious. The quiet joy of just being alive. He couldn't explain the tiredness. It wasn't just in his body, it was in his spirit, like a weight pressing on the chest, invisible to everyone else, but heavy every single day. One morning, without thinking too much, he told his manager he needed a short break. Just a few days. No meetings, no notifications, just space. He went somewhere simple, a small cabin near the woods. No Wi-Fi, just silence and wind through the trees. He didn't know what he was looking for. He just knew he couldn't keep going the way he had. The first 2 days felt strange, like coming off a drug. His hands twitched to reach for the phone. His mind panicked at the stillness. But then, something began to soften. On the third morning, walking along a narrow forest path, he heard birdsong. Not just background noise. He really heard it like a language his soul had forgotten. And in that moment, he whispered a question that surprised even himself. What do I really want? That small moment, that quiet question, cracked something open, and it didn't give him all the answers, but it gave him something far more important. A direction, a feeling, a truth to follow. He didn't quit his job the next day. He didn't move to the mountains, but he did start walking slower, speaking more truthfully, listening to himself with the same care he gave to others. And in that slow return to himself, he found something he had forgotten: peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from no longer pretending. So I'll ask you, not to rush, not to answer quickly, but just to gently hold this question in your heart. When was the last time you truly rested, not just your body, but your soul? The mask we wear, persona and the inner split. We all wear masks, not the kind made of cloth or plastic, but invisible ones, shaped by expectation, shaped by survival. Carl Jung called it the persona, the version of ourselves we present to the world, to be accepted, to be praised, to belong. First, it's harmless. We play the part. The good student, the helpful daughter, the strong provider, the calm friend. We smile when we're supposed to. We nod even when we disagree. We keep the peace. We keep it all in. But slowly, piece by piece, the real self, the soft, strange, sacred self, gets buried beneath layers of performance. We forget what our own voice sounds like. We forget what we love, what we fear, what we truly need. We become what others expect, not what our soul longs to be. And we wonder why we feel so tired, so hollow, even when life looks fine. The split begins, a quiet fracture between the face we show and the truth we carry. And that fracture, it hurts not always loudly but constantly, like a low hum in the background of every day. And when we ignore it long enough, the soul sends signals. Fatigue that sleep doesn't cure, anxiety with no clear reason, a sadness that sits in the chest like a stone. These are not flaws. They are messages. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are tired because it takes so much energy to be someone you're not. To smile when you want to cry. To agree when your truth is screaming no. To chase things that don't feed your soul. So if you feel exhausted, not just in your body, but in your being, take a breath. You're not failing. You're waking up. Modern pressures. Performing life instead of living it. We wake up and before our feet even touch the floor, our minds are already online. Scrolling through the lives of others, through perfect smiles, filtered sunsets, curated happiness. Everywhere we look, it seems like everyone else is winning. Building faster, earning more, loving louder. And we begin to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel that full, that certain, that alive? We've started performing life instead of living it. Turning moments into content, turning joy into metrics, turning presence into pressure. Hustle culture tells us we are only worth what we produce. That rest is laziness. That slowness is failure. And so we run, faster and faster, chasing a finish line that keeps moving. But in chasing applause, we lose the silence where truth lives. In chasing attention, we miss the sacredness of just being. We begin to measure ourselves not by how we feel inside, but by how we appear outside. And that is the cruelest trade. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." We are not here to live for likes, for praise, for trophies of illusion. We are here to live in truth. Messy, quiet, soulful truth. The kind that doesn't always look good, but always feels real. So let me ask you something gently, honestly. Are you living your truth? Or a highlight reel you think others want to see? Burnout is a whisper from the soul. Burnout is not just tiredness. It's not just a bad week or a rough season. It is a quiet collapse of the soul. A soft and sacred whisper from within that says, "I can't keep living like this." We often think burnout means we've failed. But what if it means we've been too strong for too long, holding too much for too many, with too little left for ourselves? Society tells us to push through, to grind, to hustle harder, to drink more coffee and smile through the pain. But there comes a point when the body breaks down, because the soul has been breaking quietly for years. In Buddhist teaching, there's a saying, suffering is not a punishment. It's a bell of mindfulness. When we suffer, it is not the world attacking us. It is life inviting us to wake up. Burnout, in this light, becomes not a curse, but a call, a spiritual alarm clock, a sacred ache that asks, what have you forgotten about yourself? What part of you have you left behind? Wisdom doesn't say, keep going. Wisdom says, pause. Rest is not laziness. Slowness is not failure. Stillness is often where we hear the voice of our true self the loudest. So if you're tired, not just in your body, but in your spirit, listen. Listen deeply. Don't rush to fix. Don't rush to numb. Just be with what is aching. There is guidance in the ache. Let your burnout become your teacher. Let your exhaustion become the doorway to a life you no longer need to run from. You don't have to go back to who you were. Maybe this is the beginning of who you truly are. Let your burnout guide you back to your true self. The power of rest and boundaries. In a world that worships hustle and rewards burnout, Choosing to rest is not laziness. It is a quiet revolution, a sacred defiance, a way of saying, my soul is not a machine. Rest is not an escape from life. It is a return to life, coming home, a way of remembering who we are beneath the noise and deadlines and demands. We are taught to prove our worth by how exhausted we are, how busy we look, how unavailable we've become to our own needs. But there is nothing noble about self-abandonment. Rest is not something you earn after breaking yourself. Rest is something you are worthy of simply because you exist. There is a Zen saying that echoes quietly in my heart. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is rest. And isn't it true? Sometimes the deepest healing happens when we stop trying to fix. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's sacred. It is saying, this is where I end, and that is where the world begins. It is drawing a line not to shut people out, but to protect the space where your soul can breathe. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you say yes to something within you that wants to live. Every time you choose silence over performance, presence over pretending, you return home. We are not here to perform our way into acceptance. We are here to live, to feel, to rest, to be whole, not just productive. So take a breath, place a gentle hand on your chest, and remind yourself, I don't have to earn this rest. I deserve it, simply because I am. Shadow work, meeting the parts you hide. There are places inside us we don't like to look, rooms we keep locked, emotions we've buried so deep we almost forget they were ever ours. But they are there, waiting. Jung called this the shadow, the part of us we push away, deny, or pretend doesn't exist. It holds our sadness, our fear, our anger, our shame, everything we were told not to feel. But what if healing doesn't begin with light? What if it begins in the dark, where the unloved parts of us whisper, see me, hold me, don't run this time. We spend so much time pretending we're okay, smiling when we're breaking, laughing when we want to scream. But peace never comes from pretending, comes from presence. Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And isn't that true? The pain we avoid doesn't disappear. It just becomes the voice behind our choices. But here is the turning point. When you choose to sit with your shadow, you are no longer its prisoner. You become its guide. And that is the beginning of freedom. Buddhism teaches us not to split ourselves, not to label one part good and another bad, but to see with compassion, to hold even our anger with gentleness, our shame with love. The parts of you that hurt, that hide, that ache, they're not wrong. They are just waiting to be understood, to be welcomed home. So if something in you feels heavy, if something in you aches without words, maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to meet yourself, all of yourself, and say, I see you. You belong. Living without the mask. What freedom feels like. There comes a moment in the quiet when the masks we wear feel too heavy, too tight, and we realize we've been carrying a version of ourselves that isn't real. True freedom isn't the absence of rules or doing whatever we want without care. It's the moment we no longer feel the need to pretend. It's that deep exhale when you stop trying to be impressive and start being honest. Freedom is vulnerability. It is raw. It is soft. And it is powerful in a way that performance can never be. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to be strong all the time to be lovable. You just have to be real. You can stop performing. You can stop rehearsing your lines. You can stop asking, am I enough? And instead begin to live from a place that says, I already am. Imagine waking up each day not to impress, but to express. Not to chase approval, but to feel alive. What would your life look like if you didn't have to prove anything to anyone? Not your parents, not your boss, not even yourself. That's the invitation. Not to become someone new, but to return to who you were before the world told you who to be. When the mask falls and your heart is bare, and you're still standing, that is what freedom feels like. That is what it means to truly come home. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not falling behind. You are simply standing at the sacred threshold of becoming. You are not lost. You are being called. Not by the noise outside you, but by the whisper within. The heaviness you feel is not failure. It's the weight of who you used to be, loosening its grip so you can return to who you truly are. Burnout is not the end. It's the signal, the invitation, the sacred alarm clock of the soul. That numbness, that confusion, that ache in your chest that you can't explain, it's not something to escape. It's a message, a soft message. From you to you. You are not behind. You are right on time. Life has not left you. It has simply paused, waiting for you to remember. And this voice you're hearing, the one that's quieter than the world but louder than your doubt, that's your soul asking you to come home. Come home not to a place, but to a presence. Come home to the quiet space inside you that never stopped believing in your light. You don't need to become anything new. You only need to return. Return to your breath, your truth, your wholeness. You are not lost. You are being called. And even if you can't see the path, just take one step and trust that home is not far behind it. Before you move on with your day, I want to invite you to pause, just for 5 minutes, not forever, just 5 sacred minutes, where it's just you and your breath. Put your phone away, turn the world down, and turn the volume up on your own soul. Breathe slowly, gently, like you're remembering something you lost a long time ago, and just found it again. Ask your heart, how do you feel today? Not how you should feel, but how you really feel. If this message touched something in you, something quiet, something old, subscribe for more. This space was made for souls like yours. You don't have to walk this path alone. There's space for your voice here. Share your story in the comments. When did you first start to feel lost? We are a village, a quiet village of awakening hearts. And healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when one voice meets another in truth. So come as you are. No masks, no filters, just your truth. That's more than enough. That's everything. You are welcome here. You are wanted here. You are understood here. Let's keep walking together.